Hey, hello. I bet you weren't expecting to see another video from me quite so soon. I was gonna leave it maybe a week, but to be honest, I feel I've got quite a lot of catching up to do. So here I go. Here I go again on my own. Oh. Um, yeah, I'll be honest, man. This is a video that I've been wanting to make for a very long time. Um, it it's something that, to be honest, I kind of have wanted to express even before I started a YouTube channel so many years ago. It's something that has been such a part of my life, but something that I've struggled, really struggled to integrate and to accept. And being 30 years old now, and with 2020 coming very quickly around the corner, I've just got to a stage in my life where I realized that to move forward personally and to become the kind of person I know I can be, and to live the kind of life that I know is possible, this is something that I have to accept about myself and to love about myself. And it's something that I want to try and inspire other people and to encourage you to really make peace with and accept within yourself as well, if you resonate with any of the stuff I'm about to share in this video. So, most of the people on this channel, they subscribe to it because of the videos I did in the past talking about being an INFJ and everything that that personality type entails. And this video was going to be actually about the most important thing for INFJs to know, which I believe is learning how to trust in themselves, learning how to believe in themselves, especially when you have such a strong intuition, and to believe in that intuition and to trust in that so you can express it and you can be the person that you were meant to be, the person that you truly are. But then I realized when I was thinking about it that it's not just INFJs. It's this is kind of really about people who are sensitive and intuitive. Yes, that includes INFJs, but it includes empaths. It includes people who term themselves light workers, indigo children, ADHD, ADD. There's a lot of labels, right? But for me, the common thing amongst all of these different labels, amongst all these kind of personality traits, these different explanations, for me, what I believe, what I feel, and what I've experienced in my life to such an extent now, I can't deny it any longer, is that there is a felt knowingness about there being a much deeper reality than the one that we have been brought up to believe in. And also that individually, as the experience we have as ourselves, there's a lot more to that as well. And I don't just mean in a kind of high and mighty spiritual way, go and meditate and achieve enlightenment. I just mean as a human being, as there's a lot more than that we can experience as this self, right? As this human. And I think that people who identify themselves as INFJs, as empaths, as highly sensitive people, as light workers, whatever, I think what most of these people share in common is what I've just been talking about. But the thing is, I believe that being a light worker, or being an empath, or whatever you want to call it, it's nothing about being like an angel. It's not about being perfect. In fact, quite the opposite. From my experience personally, and from a lot of people that I've met who have this very strong sensitivity and a strong connection to spirituality naturally, they've actually had pretty brutal lives. They've gone through a lot of pain. They've gone through a lot of suffering. They're usually people who very often have the lowest opinion of themselves, struggle with self-esteem, struggle with depression, struggle with anxiety. And I know these things are, human. Everyone struggles with these things, but highly sensitive people seem to be impacted incredibly hard because of their sensitivity. And if that continues, it can lead to ill health. It can lead to all sorts of things that can kind of almost take you down if you can't accept that sensitivity actually, as much as it seems that has been your biggest hardship, it is a tremendous gift, and there's a reason why you're here at this time, and there's a reason why you're so sensitive, and that is key to learning how to accept yourself. And it is also key in learning how to trust in yourself, to trust in your intuitive self, to trust in your feelings, to trust in everything that has come to you, that has made you look through the accepted norms of society and of life as a whole. And I understand what it feels like when you've spent your whole life with this kind of extra sensory sensitivity. You feel from almost your earliest years, when you go to school and you're playing with your classmates, you start to feel quite quickly like an outsider. You start to feel different. You struggle to maintain friendships because you're just not interested in the same things. You're always kind of aware that there's something so much more, so much bigger. And it's like this gradual process of remembering something. And it's something very important, and you know it is, and you know it's beautiful, and you know it kind of connects to everything. And you have this sense. And you've always had this sense. But over the years, what becomes more important for many of us, even though it leads us away from who we are, is the desire to fit in, the desire to belong. And this desire to belong is perfectly normal, right? It's perfectly natural. And I think it's actually the strongest desire that we as humanity have. Even as spiritual souls, this desire to belong is like the strongest desire, because it's a desire for love. It's a desire for connection. It's the desire for wholeness. But when you've grown up in a society that has the fundamental belief in simply the material world, simply a life that is a complete chance happening, a mistake, and that as soon as you're dead, that's it, and there's nothing else. And it's just because of that, all of the cultural beliefs surrounding survival, surrounding hierarchy, surrounding dog eat dog, and all of the suffering and the pain that result from those beliefs, and also the fear, the immense fear of personal limitation, because we're so ingrained to be afraid of actually shining our light and truly expressing ourselves, even things that might seem crazy to other people, because maybe they can't feel those things, but we do. All of that is what leads to so much misery. And it's on many different levels. Just on a human level, there's so much conditioning just around our human emotions. And then, of course, if you have these different kind of extrasensory perceptions and stuff, then it kind of gets even more difficult, and you start to feel even more alienated. But the reason I'm making this video now is because, one, I realize that I personally need to make peace with this side of myself, and I need to acknowledge it. Otherwise, I know that I will start to slide back into dark places, depressive places, because what you don't accept about yourself turns in on yourself. And when you have like a feeling that you could just almost be happy all the time because you feel naturally connected to a kind of a joyfulness, and yet when you hold that back because you're afraid of making other people insecure, you're afraid of making other people feel small around you, you're afraid of being judged by people, And I've heard people say this. I've heard people say they don't trust people who are always happy. They believe they're inauthentic or they're hiding something. And yet there's a massive difference between being nice to try and get people to accept you because you fundamentally feel worthless. And there's a massive difference from that to actually just being joyful to be alive, to see that there is so much beauty in the world, and to see that there's so much beauty in humanity, and to just want to celebrate that and want to bring that more to the forefront, rather than living a life of, you know, a very reduced capacity, a life governed by fear, a life governed by doubts, a life governed by feeling like a victim to circumstances and to what you may have experienced. So, yeah, and it's the way I've been able to come to this place is by realizing that so much of the traumas and the sufferings and the pains and the hardships that I feel that I have experienced in my life and that I have absorbed, I've realized that instead of allowing those things to get me down or to overpower me, I can look at them and realize that I experienced all of those things for a very important reason, which was I experienced those things so I could have a truly felt experience of what it is to be human, and at this time, so I could then actually relate that to other people, understand why it happens, and also understand the way back, you know, to go right down to the kind of the pits of complete forgetfulness, of being a soul that becomes so embedded in the pains and the sufferings of being human, but always seems to maintain at least some kind of connection to a deeper individuality, a deeper reality that we all share, and then to come back out of that, and then to be able to relate to others, and to be able to help others move through those rocky places and those dark places. And it's not about being perfect, you know, it's about realizing that addictions, self-loathing, depression, anxiety, sexuality, like all the things that people often struggle with and often have issues around and often have a lot of repressions around, it's perfectly normal and okay to have those things. Yet at the same time, don't allow those things to be an excuse as to hold you back from just being yourself, trusting in yourself, shining your light into the world, loving yourself, having fun, you know. Don't wait for some magical day when everything is healed and everything is perfect, because it may never come. And realize that it's actually perfectly acceptable to have all of these emotions and to go through the ups and the downs. It's not about always being beautifully, spiritually loving and in a place of perfect serenity and equanimity and all this kind of stuff. You know, it's about being human. It's about enjoying and experiencing everything that comes with being human, but at the same time having a deep felt knowingness, a felt experience that you are more than human. And with that comes a courage to be able to become emotionally fearless and not to run away from things, but to experience everything to the fullest that it can be. Because really, it's the shame that we have around the fullest experience of being human and being spiritual beings. It's the shame that is the big problem. It's not so much there is actually any problems that we need to solve or fix. Everything is trying to flow as it was meant to flow, and it flows in a way that is beyond our capacity for our minds to really understand. It flows with an intelligence that when you start to learn how to align yourself with, will make your life magical, and you'll start to see little synchronicities everywhere when you start to trust in that. But to trust in that, you have to start to trust in yourself. And for all of the above, you guys, it's so important to start trusting in yourself. And also, another thing that I've realized, and this can only happen at an individual level, and it will only happen when you're truly ready for it, is acknowledging that you may well be telling yourself a big story about your pain and your limitations and everything that you've gone through, because it allows you to choose not to step into what you know you could be, because there's so much uncertainty and fear around doing that, and you're actually more comfortable with living the life of pain and limitation, because in a sense it does give you an excuse. You can say, I wish I could be more confident, I wish I could step into my truth, but I've got all this stuff to deal with. But you don't have to live life in that way. You don't have to live the story. It's not about denying what has happened to you. It's not about denying trauma. It's not about denying your shadow side. It's not about denying anything that is repressed within you. But it is about understanding that you can experience those things, heal those things, go into those things, whilst at the same time creating the new story of who you know you truly are and who you truly can be, regardless. It's about developing this kind of complete, whole self-acceptance of every part of yourself, and then releasing the need to control things and trusting in that intelligence and that intuition that works through you, and trusting in that, and then, you know, riding the waves, riding the river of life, and trusting in the magic of it all. So yeah, 20 minutes. Oh my gosh, I'm going to leave it there. So I hope that's been inspiring, and I hope that maybe has touched something inside of you if you relate to it at all, and if you'd like me to continue making videos around this subject, which, well, I think I'm going to anyway. Yeah, stay tuned, and have a blessed day wherever you are in the world. Much love.